everybody, welcome back to a special edition episode of Solo Sessions. I'm your host, Ben Canute, and today I have my first guest on here after a bit of an extended break over the holiday season, my beautiful wife, Courtney Canute.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Thank you so much for having me on here, finally.
Well, you know, I gotta hype it up a little bit. I gotta score brownie points whenever I can, right? So
I have a lot to say.
hopefully a lot of good things. But if not, I mean, funny, whatever they are, this is going to be my first guest. So I try and host this. As people who don't know, Solo Sessions is just a conversation with myself, essentially what would go on through my mind on a long bike ride, kind of on that. So I do a lot of rambling.
Wonderful outlet for you.
Yeah, and I do a lot of rambling, so this is going to be a little different. This is like if I'm on a ride with somebody, and Courtney knows better than anybody that I am very long-winded, so we'll see how this back and forth goes, but there's no better guest to have on as my first one as Courtney, because she sees all the behind the scenes. She knows a lot of questions that she might have, but I'm going to ask her a lot just to give you an idea from a biased point of view, but also from not my point of view. What is it like being in a household with a professional triathlete? What are some of the things that I haven't talked about? Because she is listening in the background sometimes, or on Spotify, YouTube, whatever it is.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, what are some of those things?
I don't know what we're talking about today. So this will probably get interesting.
Do you know what you're going to talk about when you go on a workout with somebody or hop in the car with them? Or is there any real plan behind what comes up? Sometimes. I mean, I guess I'm not as much of a planner. I don't think about the questions beforehand. We have maybe a few on in the background, but just, I guess, right off the bat, we can jump in. You met me right when I had qualified for the Olympics. On that day, I don't know if anybody knows the story, but we'll take a long story short, is I qualified for the Olympics back in 2016. Courtney was a local news reporter in Phoenix, and she was covering some triathlon in Tempe. We still have no idea who to this day was riding by on the bike and said, there was a guy from U of A who qualified. His friends are over there. Go talk to him. Courtney did, interviewed him, got my information, met up with me, and we worked on a whole story together. She came down to Tucson, and after that, we stayed in touch, and we started dating later that year then. You gotta interrupt me.
I know. But I was just going to say, I thought it was really interesting that out of all the news outlets in Tucson and Phoenix, nobody else covered that they had a local guy going to the Olympics, which is wild. But I'm glad I did.
Well, and this, I guess, leads into my question of what was your background with triathlon, sports, professional sports, and what led you to, make the decision to basically be thrown into the life of a professional triathlete, which maybe seems glamorous, but we're by no means NFL stars flying on private jets and, getting everything taken care of for ourselves. So kind of what was your impression before and after?
We can thank Ron Griffin, my dad, because he always was very interested in the Olympics. And so I think that's why I was like, whoa, cool. Somebody local just qualified for the Olympics. I got to go get that story. Because I easily could have just been like, okay, cool, whatever, and like moved on. So thank you, Dad. Thank you to the guy driving by on his little bike. That said something. No idea. Thank you to Trenton and Dimitri. Shout outs. But anyway, what was your question about?
Before and after.
Before that, though, I remember after I met Ben and interviewed him, it was like a very professional relationship, obviously. But I just remember thinking, like, his lifestyle seems really cool. And, like, he's healthy and he's in shape. And that's always been something that I've also done because my parents, too. Like, I've always been interested in working out and running. So I had that going for me already, obviously not anywhere to that level, but I think you piqued my interest because not only were you very nice, and I remember thinking that, but I remember thinking like, I wonder what his life is like. Like, how does he do it? Who does he hang out with? Like, does he drink? Like just like all the things, that I was curious about.
Did I meet expectations? Was it everything you ever dreamed it could be?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're very interesting and it's very entertaining, not entertaining, I guess that's the wrong word, but it's
interesting.
Well, yeah, just to see like how you go about your lifestyle, because you've definitely made me healthier in many ways. Like you eat really healthy and stuff, but like you still have that balance and enjoy kind of whatever you want at the same time. Very well rounded, and it's cool to see like all that you do and then how you can go perform and be at the top of your level. And like in the world, you know. It's just, yeah, it's really cool to sit back and watch. And oftentimes I really don't know how you do it. So,
well, when you first met, like, what did you think professional triathlon or just a triathlon in general? Because your parents, yes, shout out Ron and Mary. They Ron's avid watcher of the show. Huge fan. Love Ron. But if you like, did you even know what a triathlon was beforehand? Because your parents were active, like you said, running, all of that. But I guess, I mean, you guys kind of played traditional. You played traditional sports, but you also all had kind of your own type of thing. Like one of your sisters was a swimmer, tennis. You did tennis. You did cheerleading. You had kind of access to all of that. But triathlon is this niche sport that flies under the radar a lot of times, and maybe you know it from Iron Man or something.
I mean, I knew it. I can't remember the first time that I remember hearing about an Iron Man, but in my job reporting, I had to cover several of them. And I always went down to Tempe Town Lake to do it, like for the morning show. And I remember interviewing one girl, and this was like years before I met you. And I was like, I just don't know how you guys do it. And I was like, I just do yoga and run. And she's like, oh my God, you can do it. Like, you got to get out there and try. And I remember being like, oh, I have no interest. Like, it doesn't spark my interest at all. But I knew what it was. But I do remember that day that the guy rode by on his bike when I was covering another one. I was like Googling, what is the different distances between sprint, Olympic, and full? And hate to throw myself under the bus, right?
I didn't even have to do it. What are the distances?
Okay, for what? A full?
Well, pick one, whichever one you want to pick. I'll give
you
dealer's choice.
It's like the very basics of triathlon I still struggle with, like the TT versus road bike. I think I got it down now. But okay, the distances, let's do this because we just went over it recently. The full, you're going to swim 2.4 miles.
Yes.
You're going to bike 112. Thank you.
Yes.
And you're going to run 26.2.
There you go. Oh, she stepped up for the podcast.
You Don't ask me Olympic.
What year? What's our anniversary year coming up? How many years have we been married?
6 wonderful, beautiful years.
Yeah, there you go. 6 years. And before that, dated for how many?
2.
So you've been around 6, 7, triathlon for that long. We got the distances down, so that's good.
I mean, there's so much to learn and know, though. Like the bike thing, the whole thing is confusing to me. The whole bike situation.
It's different.
And I'm not a biker, you know. I've not really gotten into that. Like the running, love. Swimming and biking.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think. Well, you've ridden a bit, and you've gotten in. You did your longest swim probably ever when you were how many months pregnant?
I don't know, but like 6 or 7.
6, yeah. There was definitely a bump there for sure. Fun. So that's so she's dabbled, and you know every time she goes to an Ironman and experiences it, it tickles that part of her brain that's like, I kind of want to try a triathlon just to see if I could do it. So anybody who is listening,
I'm very, very loyal and committed and competitive. So I am apologizing now if you see me out at the races. I'm going to give a shout out to Fran, Henry Schuman's wife, because she helped me learn how to really cheer for our boyfriends at the time, like back in 2017. So I apologize if you see me on the course and you see me yell kind of like a psycho.
You were cheering well beforehand, because it went from cheering when she was with her parents at her first race for the major league try in like Avon, Colorado, with like a yay, go Ben, to full on like looking. Yeah.
Because the thing is,
who is that?
The adrenaline absolutely takes over. And as a supporter and girlfriend, wife, whatever, like you are invested and you have no control over how it's going. And you just are so pumped and you want them to do well and you're excited. Like sometimes he'll be running by and I will draw a blank. Like I won't even know what to say. But like oftentimes, like lately, last couple years, I've been trying to cool it, but it just something else takes over me and I'm just like, you yell whatever. So if you see me, no, you didn't.
Oh, you'll hear her.
You hear me? No, you didn't.
That's actually perfect because my family is very loud. So you have to be loud if you want to be a part of the family. If you want to be heard, at least. If not, you're sitting there watching a whole scene unfold. And that is part of the reason why we are a week late or we skipped a week. It's the holidays. We had the whole family over here. It was chaotic, a ton of fun, very loud. Everybody was overstimulated by the end of it. But I'm not going to let Courtney get away with, she was talking about her cheering there, but I was going in the direction of expresses she's doing a marathon in January, so I'm putting that under the world in case nobody has seen that. But also, she says that she kind of wants to try a triathlon every time kind of an Ironman comes around and she experiences the atmosphere. She hasn't said she wants to go that far, but she kind of wants to try it. So any peer pressure towards her on her Instagram, you give her a little peer pressure, we can get her doing a triathlon, maybe sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's taken me 8 years to get to this point, but I think I would do an Olympic. I think that sounds fun, like a half.
Yeah.
And then, really it's just the swimming for me. That is a struggle. I literally can't breathe. I have to lift up my neck. So you need to coach me on that. But I think it would be fun, and it's really inspiring and motivating when you are at those races to see everyone go and do it, and the different body types and the different stories behind people, the emotion. I really love that, and so I'm yeah, I could get behind that. And I feel from watching you over the years, I have some tips and tricks that I would know that could help me out and make me better, but also, it's such a different ballgame when we're talking about professionals doing it versus age groupers like myself would be. And it's I'm just going to be so much longer out there on the course that I have to understand, is that going to feel fun still, but I'm sure it will be. And it's a huge challenge and accomplishment. And yeah, it's the marathon training. It's not always fun, but it will be really rewarding. And so I think the same thing, obviously, for Ironman or half or whatever. I just need to kind of get there a little bit more with the swim and bike.
That's what we call type 2 fun. It's fun after the
fact. I totally get that.
The war stories
I love
are fun.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you meet me, you get exposed into triathlon, and we're dating. I just want to know, too, because you were working a job, and I have been told by my parents that I ruin work-life balance for people because, as it's not easy being a professional triathlete. There's obviously hard aspects to it. It does take up a lot of your time. It's a full-time job between training, recovery, doing admin work. You basically are running your own business and have all the stresses that come with that. When you're younger, it's a little bit more carefree, but you were obviously working your job in Phoenix, and then not too long after we were dating, by 2018, you were putting in your resignation letter saying, I'm off to travel the world and see what's going on and see what the racing is all about. Because your first few triathlons, why don't you just tell your exposure to triathlon, I guess, because we have a pretty fun, I would say, first full year of you coming out to racing with the most unique triathlon experiences.
Which was what? Major League Tri?
First was Major League Tri.
And then Super League?
You did go to...
Super League was really later. Cool.
Super League was in 2018.
Major League Tri, I was kind of
here was her first 3 races that I can remember. You did Major League Tri, which was a league for relay teams, so super sprint stuff. It was really small, kind of bootstrappy, and just way different than any normal sprint Olympic or half Ironman atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then you went to the 70.3 World Champs, so that got exposure to...
Yeah, that was almost a year into dating you, but that was, very cool.
And then a few months after that, you were at the Island House Triathlon, which was probably the most unique triathlon you could go to. I like to describe it as now Pitch Perfect 2 is getting a little bit older, so it's not as current, but where the guy brings in everybody to sing at his mansion. This was put on by, why am I forgetting his name?
Mark Holowesko.
Yeah, Mark Holowesko. Thank you. And he would bring out, 30 triathletes, 15 men and women, and we'd race in the Bahamas. Do people not
know about the Island House?
Well, it's starting to get farther away. We're almost 9 years removed from it, and that was a race that happened for 3 years.
The coolest experience. We were on a tiny little island.
It was bizarre. It's just a bizarre way to race because you're a remote Bahamas island racing.
And it was the 12
best guys.
People, right? 12 guys, 12 girls?
12 to 15. And it was
it was
Henry
very
Schumann,
selective. And I remember
Javier
when I first
Gomez.
When I first met Ben, he was talking about this race, and he's like, "Oh, it's in the Bahamas. I really think I could qualify or get picked or selected or whatever. However you got
had to lobby
selected."
for yourself.
Yeah, and I was like, that would be really cool. And so here I am working as a reporter in Phoenix, and I had to put in all my vacation days a year in advance. And so he told me about that one, and I was like, ugh. And we didn't know if he had qualified or not, but I was like, I've got to try to get this off.
Yeah.
But it was so dicey with if I could get things off, even with putting it a year in advance in, because everyone had to. And so I remember I had to lie and say that I had a wedding that weekend or something just to like really confirm that I would get it off. And thank God I did. And thank God you got selected to go, because that was truly one of my favorite races. Like, obviously just a beautiful place and so unique. But then like you winning that in the sprint finish, that was one of those times. Yeah. I don't know what I was yelling, but I was just like,
there's a video somewhere.
There's a picture. I'm just like pointing like, go. How quickly or how many seconds did you win that by? Like,
oh, it was like a second. Basically. We were right there. Yeah. Terenzo.
Oh my gosh. It was the coolest experience. Yes.
Yeah. So that was probably the coolest triathlon.
So yeah, there was a very weird mix of races. Like, we had that. We had Major League Tri, which was kind of college-esque to me. Super League was a little later, but that was really cool, like in spontaneous places like Singapore and Abu Dhabi. Is that that was not Super League.
That was WTCS. Super League was Malta, Mallorca, like really fun experiences, like places to experience, and really fast racing, like just on that. So I want to have you rank your top 5. You can even go 3 because it might be hard to think of them all, but start thinking about destination race experiences that you've been to, and you can take it from like when we first started dating all the way through until now. The top, at least like 3
spots, or like actual racing memories.
I think your overall, because obviously how the race goes will affect probably the mood around after the trip, because
not always,
sometimes it does, but like how it, like some of that, but then it could be like a race combo trip, because I have a guess for maybe what a few of the experiences would be, but I want to hear from you, and we'll start. You give your 3 and I'll tell you what I have a few as well. So,
can you guess my 3? Because I have
guess your 3. I think I have. Okay. Yeah. So you tell me if I'm right. So I'm going to go number 3 is going to be, well, I know what your number 1 is. Your number 1, I would say, is Island House.
Okay.
And then number 2 is Paris, like the Nice-Paris trip. Yes. And then number 3 is a tough one. I want to say it's probably the Super League trip in Malta or Mallorca, one of those, or am I off?
Well, you're off, but that I picked St. George when you got second against Christian, just because that was like absolutely phenomenal. St. George,
that's a good spot.
The location, but like just that trip in general. I was pregnant with Caden. I was so proud of you. Like, you worked so hard, and it was kind of a rougher year, and then you went off and like were alone for 2 weeks and trained on your own, and like I don't know, it just was like a lot of excitement riding on that race.
That's a good
and like
one.
The fact that
I could have said our just recent trip too to Spain and Arizona. Now, I think we'll get into this a little bit more. I kind of want to, well, I guess we could just kind of jump right into it. But I would have said that one because, I mean, Spain was really fun, had some cool activities. I think.
Yeah, but I would have probably put like Mallorca or Malta. Like, that was cool.
Yeah. But I think that also
Singapore was fun.
There was a lot that happened in that Spain trip too. And then also Phoenix was fun just because we got to go back to where we lived and also had a good result at the end of a year that wasn't as good. But I want to say, so obviously when we're younger, we don't have a family. Yeah. Trips are a little different. Yeah. Like, we can go out, play tourist a little bit more. You get from point A to point B.
We're all about the food. All about trying out like every different variety of food that country offers.
And we still are. But like, I want you to describe what your role kind of was like when you were traveling before we had kids versus after, because I think like it just kind of changed a little bit as well, especially with like versus like if we have kids or not. Because like when we don't have kids, we can kind of revert back to what we were. But now like the dynamic is way different. Obviously.
Now you're on your own.
Yeah.
So initially I quit my job in 2018 as a reporter because I would be sitting in the live van, about to go live. And there's a lot of, that job is very cool in and of itself. And you get to meet a lot of different people and cover interesting topics and stuff. Like, definitely am not downplaying that role, but there was a lot of waiting around too. And like sitting in the live truck, waiting for breaking news, waiting to go live or whatever. And I just remember toward the end of my career when it wasn't really aligning with me anymore, I would be, obviously I'm dating him and I'd be like talking to him and he's like, oh yeah, I'm just in France, about to go on a run, race briefing next, and talk about, like how we were mentioning ruining other people's careers. I'm like, that must be nice. Like, it almost was like I was annoyed a little bit. Like, I want to be there. Like, what the heck, you know? And so that's when I started realizing like something needs to change if we can swing it. So we kind of talked about it early on, and early on into dating. I feel like we were 2 years in, but we kind of knew like this is gonna last for a while, right?
I was on a timeline. I knew. Courtney, I mean, and this is fair enough. But guys, you know, kind of drag their feet a little bit with sometimes popping the question. We like to know. The commitment is always the scariest part for guys. But like, I had about 3 years, 3 years.
At one point, I said, if you don't know by 3 years, you don't know, honey. Let's get out. So, but I didn't say that to him. So by 2018, in general, if you're 3 years into dating somebody, this is my perspective at least. If you don't know, what are we doing here?
Which is fair enough. I got it.
And so I told him that on like year 1 or something. But where was I going? Well, we were 2 years in. Oh yeah, so quitting my job, we talked about it, and so then it was like, okay, well, if I do that, like, what am I going to do? And so I obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously. You may not know I love yoga. I've always been into that, and I'm a teacher, so I wanted to get my teacher training done, and so I could do that. But then I also was like, I can help you out a lot. Like, I could be your manager. I could be almost like an agent for you, kind of, in a way. Like, I had an agent in TV. I kind of know what it's all about. So, like my role was kind of like to just support you in any way, like do your social media. Like I looked over your bills that one time, or like your taxes and stuff, like just like little duties. But then more so when traveling, just made sure he was real comfortable. Gave him first class. I got to sit in the back of the plane.
That was, you gave it. Well, I traveled a lot.
It was also a half fight.
Yeah. I got upgraded because I didn't know that on the upgrade list, if you have points and your partner doesn't, even if you're on the same ticket, you don't always get upgraded. One person might just.
Well, I'll admit, I struggled a little bit with like, but you're the guy in the relationship. Like, you should offer those things to the girl. Like, you should be the one carrying the bags and doing that.
And I was thinking, I'm racing. I need to make us money. I need to be fresh for the race.
Yeah.
And I gotta,
like, you carried, not that you ever did that, but we did have a discussion of like, you told me at one point, like, sometimes like the guys will have their girlfriends carry the groceries in. I'm like, that was a professional cycling. That was a different thing because they don't want the extra strength. So there's a little bit of, the point is, it was a little awkward, some of the things, you know? So I'm like, okay, this is taking some getting used to, but then I started to understand, like, for him to perform at that level, like, I tried. Too. Yeah, I tried to pamper you. I wasn't very good at it, but I did try to make your life a little easier.
Well, it was just fun. I think it was just fun overall having you along, and you did help out overall, but, like, traveling alone can get super lonely. Like, there's a good kind of community at the races when you're with everybody else, but to be able to share it with somebody was something that I always wanted to do. But now I would say, like, you're working full time because like there's so much stuff now that's just like
with
you
kids,
take
it's
over.
Different.
On the day-to-day stuff. Like, I mean, I feel like we were talking about this recently, but just like I don't know half like some of the bills. Like, I know what they are because you talk with me about it a bit, but like if you weren't doing that, I would be so much more lost. Some of just like the health insurance stuff, just all of that.
Just
like
what makes the house run. Like, I'm the mom manager.
Yeah, manages everything.
House manager.
I'm lost too. Like, I take kids to the, like, all of that stuff. Like, I'm involved, but also you plan out so much and are thinking so much there versus like, well, my brain sometimes is over in like scheduling out like what the work week looks like, how we're gonna manage everything. You're like, oh, I signed the kids up for these 3 different activities and we got to go here, and I'm like, oh man, I would not have thought of that at this point. Like, because I think you're good too.
Yeah, but I think that's typical. A lot of the moms are in charge of all that.
But you're good big picture too, like in planning out what they need. And then I'm like, I always kind of shrink it down day to day.
Yeah.
So that's a good
balance.
But
I think back to like traveling now with kids, like oftentimes it won't be all of us. Like just Ben will go to the race. Did this get crooked a little bit?
A little.
Because
half the people can see us, half can't.
Okay. It just gets
I'm keeping that in there too.
Yeah, it just gets to be a lot to like bring everybody and everything. Like, we really tried to get real smart with like how we move about certain luggages that connect. We never really did great with the car seat thing. Like, we don't have super light, good, like foldable car seats, but at least we figured out to get the backpack bag instead of like carrying it on one shoulder. But we tried to make it as like, I don't know, cohesive as possible, but it's still so clunky and just so much going on when we travel that unless it's a really cool destination that we want to make a vacation out of, it's just been now pretty much going to the races.
Like a business trip, because it's also hard. So that kind of leads me in, because this is also, I think, something that's interesting that, you know, a lot of like parents or even other athletes like would go through when they have families. Because like one, it's a business trip. When the family's along, it's a lot of fun, but there's also that balance of like trying to race but also have fun. So like my parents came along on this Spain Arizona trip, which helped a lot, because chasing 2 toddlers around, I'm trying to taper and go do all of the race stuff. So
time
Courtney,
zone change, like there's no way we would have brought our kids if your parents weren't
you would have been,
I would have been way too nervous to,
and you would have been wrecked. Like, it's so unpredictable. You got sick and were run down and got hit by jet lag.
We all like couldn't sleep except you, thank God. Like he can sleep anywhere. It's a blessing, and it half pisses me off, but it's good for him. And then, so like the kids and I were up, and then that was like night one, I think we all slept well in Spain because we were up the night prior because we were flying, but regardless. So then the second night we were all up. And then that morning, Caden was like, oh, my tummy hurts. And then I was holding him and he threw up on me. And then I kind of got like a head cold.
Went downhill from there.
Briella kind of had a head cold. They just didn't sleep great, but they were okay. I honestly was the worst one.
But that's where too,
adapting to the time zone. But
with 2 toddlers or just kids as they get older, like in that hard stage, having the extra hands was kind of essential, because otherwise, like, I have to be kind of selfish in the lead up to the race and what I can totally do, because it's expensive to get out there. You want to make the most of it. And then, you know, it's that balance. But then in going on the business trips as well, like I am curious about this, like, because we talk about it, but it's like, it's not, I think in a way it always looks like it's sometimes fun. You know, we're like, oh, you're going on a
like,
trip.
Oh, you get to escape and
exactly.
have
like
time
that's
alone
your time away.
and sit and chill on the airplane and read and listen to music and, you know,
which in some aspects it is a lot easier. You have time to yourself and quiet time, but then in the other way, it's like you're there on a business trip. Like I'm not having fun.
And it's not that easy. Like we were talking about that, I think, on the trip back from like Spain, London to Arizona. I don't love traveling. Like, it's not that easy to be in the airport, wait around. Is my bike going to make it? Like, is my flight delayed? Like, sometimes you would just rather be at home.
The destinations, too, are not always super fun. Like, I've raced in Galveston, Texas, and nothing against Texas, but, like, Galveston is not, like, the nicest coastal city. Yeah. Or you go to Augusta, Georgia, which, again, you know, not terrible, but it's not, like, a destination unless you're going to, like, the Masters golf course, like Augusta National, or just a number of these places. But even if I'm going to a place like Santa Cruz, which we love California, it's still like I got outside a few times to do it, but it's like the coolest thing I get to do is like go get a cup of coffee or ride my bike along the coast. It's not like I'm hanging out at the beach or having a vacation. So, and that's where I think like you see that and you do understand. And it's a conversation that we have, because I'm like, even when I come back, like I want to help out more, but I'm also sore and I'm recovering from the race. So sometimes like I don't help out as
tough.
much.
It's tough because from my standpoint, I'm like,
you did everything the whole weekend.
Yeah, you just got a break. Can I cuss on here?
Sure.
Shit hit the fan, of course. Something happened. Some kid threw up, whatever. And then I'm like, okay, when he gets back, like, I'll get a break. Meanwhile, and he says that. And then he comes home and he's like, I'm wrecked. And, you know, you're really good. Like, you do try to help out, but it's like, I don't get a break then. You know, it's go, go, go. And even, like,
I'll be in Germany.
I don't know.
Waiting, like,
deeper,
about to go to bed, just wanting to catch up with the family, just say hi to everybody. And it's chaotic in the background. It's one of those where, like, my dad always would say, like, in hearing, like, he'd be in his office and calling home, and we would be yelling in the background, like, Mom, like, oh, just screaming, it's chaos. And my mom would finally, like, hang up, and then it'd be quiet in his office. And I totally relate to that now, where I'm like, man, there's that guilt of you leaving and not being able to help, but also you're like, haha,
I'm not there.
But also some of that trauma dumping too of Courtney, just like everything that's chaotic just dumped on your plate.
You won't believe this.
Yeah, then I'm laying there like 9 o'clock at night or something, even though there's jet lag. Like, oh man, that's just chaotic. Like,
well, and I have tried, like, especially in the like 2-3 years, most recent, to like recognize I don't want to like, trauma dump on him right before a race. And so I will try not to, but we're just so open with our communication. I literally tell him everything that is really hard to like withhold stuff. Occasionally I will until after, but also I feel like you're so mentally tough and strong. Like you don't really care. You can like, I mean, you care, but it doesn't affect you. Like you can
to an extent, yeah, I'm pretty good at
like, okay, well that's crazy, but we'll deal with that later. First I'm racing.
Okay, so in that same vein, so in our lifestyle, I feel like, you know, this, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because obviously our lifestyle is pretty awesome. Like we're very flexible, but I want to ask you, like, what are some of your pet peeves about triathlon? What are some of your favorite parts about it, like for the life that we get to live? And what are maybe some things that people wouldn't know or think about in the life of a professional triathlete or a professional triathlete spouse? But, you know, I think people look at what we're doing and just think like, oh, you guys can do whatever you want any day. And it's just like, oh, you can, you know, move your workouts around or skip a workout here or there. But like, it's never like there's hardly any ever off days. Like I don't get a weekend, you know? So I might get that flexibility.
No.
Yeah, on like a Monday, like if it's an easy day, maybe I only have an hour or so of working out. But when I work out almost 7 days a week or on cycles where I only get one full day off every so often, like what I guess I'm not sure exactly where I'm going with this, but kind of like how is that with like with the living day to day and planning stuff?
Well, in the very beginning when I first started dating you, I remember specifically sitting down at that one place in Tucson, Mercado, and you're like, because I was like, oh, I don't think I said anything about like, can you like move your run around or whatever, but you were very adamant that I knew early on, like, this is my job. I take it very seriously and I'm not going to miss a workout for something. Like, it's like I go to work, like I go to the office. And so I was like, okay, yeah, no, I get it. But, and I feel like I did get it pretty quickly, but I will say like family or, you know, like friends around us, they're like, oh, like he just has a run. Like, can't he just like do that later or whatever? So it is interesting. Like people sometimes just think you can do it whenever. And it's like, no, it's like very time sensitive and, you know, you take it seriously. And I remember you saying, well, if I skip this or push it back, that's a dangerous like road to go down because then I can always like cancel it or push it back or like fall into that cycle.
It's like when you drop out of a race, it gets easier to drop out of a race. Obviously, we have some flexibility and a plan is always changeable.
And you've gotten more flexible over the years with kids, but yeah, early on it was very like, this is what I'm doing. And like,
because you have to set that standard, that discipline to do it all. And also it's not like a team sport. Like if you look at an NFL player's schedule with the team sport, they're expected to show up at the facility at certain times every day, work out outside of those. They're supposed to study film, and they do this also as a unit where it's like, hey, you're here, whatever, 9 to 5 anyways, and they have those hours built in versus I'm building my own hours out. So I could say, okay, these are my work hours, but again, the schedule can always shift as well when you have higher volume weeks, lower volume. So I think, you know, when you have a family doing that, that becomes one of those big challenges of what times are good workout times. Is it always the same time every week? Is it something that shifts?
And that's always shifting for us. And I feel like that is something we could work on a little bit more, like really nailing in the schedule. But it is hard because your schedule changes like every day. And you know it a little bit in advance now, but like, I don't know, back in the day, it was like kind of day of, you would learn it, right? Like,
I've gone through a bunch of different cycles with coaches of like, do you do training just for a couple days in advance, a couple weeks, a week?
Yeah, so we wouldn't know.
And I think the sweet spot is about like every week you kind of get your schedule and you might know a full week, maybe a full 2 weeks, but it's just hard. Like you can't write out a month's worth of training because there's so many different variables to see how you're responding to everything. So that I would say is one of the biggest challenges of just having a family with this, is setting those expectations of like, when is the workout and all the scheduling and keeping track of all of that.
Yeah, but I want to say, very grateful for your job and what you do and like the lifestyle that it does give us. Like we've said this many times, like literally this morning, we were sitting around the table celebrating Brielle's birthday before she went to school. And I said, like, this is so cool that you're here and like, we're all together.
It's a Thursday.
Yeah. It's a Thursday, you know? So I think we do really try to appreciate it and like take in the good. But yeah, if you want the hard side, I can give that to you as well, because
Lay
there
it
are
on
no
us.
days off. And he is working really hard. And I think, again, I've learned and I've grown with him in this sport. Initially, I was like, I mean, maybe even a couple years ago, I was like, you need to help out with the house more, or do something. And I wouldn't really take into consideration, like, oh, he just ran 14 miles and then had a 2-hour bike. And, like I would try to, but I'd still be like, but you need to help out around the house more or whatever. And I think now I've come to understand a little bit more about like how hard that is, because you're pushing your body to its limits sometimes in these workouts, and then you want to come home and rest. And I get that. And it's just, when you're in
It's
your
timing.
off season, so it's so, like, I was going to say obvious, but I don't want to keep using the word interesting, but like he has so much more energy in the off season. Like I can't stop him. He's doing all kinds of projects around the
restless.
house. And I'm like, whoa, this is.
Well, and I think it's also just the type of training as well. Like for the past few years, like before moving to Neil as well, like the philosophy was kind of like do more like what's the biggest load you could take to reach the demands of the sport. And it just left not a lot of room for a bunch of other energy. And that was kind of the philosophy even that I had, was just you got to work super, super hard. And we took out some of the working smart with it. So that's where I think too, like when I talk with people about balancing stress, the different stressors, it was like there was so much of a big training stress on my body that there wasn't much room for a lot of the other stresses, and that just kind of adds up as well.
Well, for sure. I mean, even with me just training for his marathon, I mean, even without me training with that, like just when I would go on long runs, I'd get sick feeling. Like I would just lay down on the couch and be like, I'm done. Like I have no energy.
One of my favorite things is, so it's really important, I think, to limit the amount of time away from the family for us when we go to some of these races. Like when you go to your A race, you take the time to go out earlier and you prep and do it like the high performance way. And then there's another way to do it where you go out kind of as late as possible and try and leave immediately after the race. I don't always like doing that. I always like giving the race the respect it deserves and stick around for any podiums or anything like that. But when I come back the same day, there are some positives as well. I get to be home. I get to sleep in my own bed. But oh my gosh, is it a hard travel on the way home? And Courtney knows exactly where I can tell from her face. She knows where I'm going with this.
No, I don't really.
You don't? Oh, well, when you went to do your half marathon in the mountains in Buena Vista, whatever, however they... Buena Vista? They pronounce it funny in the town. But out in Colorado, you did a running race, and the same day she could have driven back.
Straight up a mountain, by the way.
It was
a
hard race.
Flat. It was a trail race.
Any race is hard. But any race is hard.
Girl Gang Run Club, shout out.
But
it was super fun. I was not planning on necessarily leaving that day anyway, but it was a little up in the air because we weren't sure what your schedule was and what you needed, and
I knew what the outcome would be.
But
it was staying the extra night to make sure. Well, once you would hang out with everybody who was there.
Terrible after that, but I did feel like I don't really want to get in the car and drive like 3-4 hours.
How did I look and feel post Ironman Arizona?
Really rough. But you didn't have to travel that
classic post race,
same day.
Not the same day, but we did leave
that's
the
why
next
I say,
day.
as I have gotten older and been in the sport longer, and I understand more and more.
I love it. I love it because that's what we were talking about, how it looks like our lifestyle is so flexible and we can move stuff around really easily, when really it's like it's a lot harder than people think. Sometimes with you being outside the sport,
and it's
there's sometimes where it's like, well, you could just come home after the race. So I love sometimes when she gets a little bit of taste of it and then she comes back to me and she's like, oh, now I understand. Because it takes living it sometimes to understand it.
To be fair, that one race this year, I don't know which one it was, when you came back that same day, you were like, oh, it's so nice to be back in my bed at night.
It is super nice. It depends on the travel.
And a lot of times after racing, you say you don't sleep well. I don't know. You still sleep pretty good, I think. But because you're wired and have a lot of caffeine in you, so you're kind of up anyway. So it's like, might as well just be traveling home.
It's a fair. There's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to all the situations, and I will say one of the times when I did try and come back early was out of Mont Tremblant the year it just poured rain the entire time, and that was the sketchiest travel day I've ever had, driving on the highway, feeling the car kind of hydroplane on the way back to the airport because it's a 2-hour drive. But when I did get home and the next day, I do think you tend to feel a little bit better. So there's some of the hard, but you can add more hard. Are you done with the hard sections or the pet peeves of triathlon? What are some things that just, what I'm doing, even little things? Give me some pet peeves. Give everybody the dirt.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would always kind of give you a hard time, again, early on, about all the coffees that you drink. It's Coffee Central over here. Always riding to coffee shops and like getting little pastries. Kind of used to be like, okay, are you working? Or are you having fun? But
both.
I was a little more cynical early on, I think. I judged the sport a little bit harder. I didn't understand it fully. Didn't know how hard it was. I just needed to learn a little bit more, and I'll fully admit that. But other little things that are irritating would probably just be the amount of items that you have. Like, it's just not, I guess that's not really an issue in and of itself, but it's not organized all the time. Like little bike parts and like when Briella, when she was like
this off season,
a baby, swallowed a little bike piece. And I was
what?
Like, oh yeah. It fell out of the dryer. I had to call poison control because she like got a little bike.
I have no recollection of that.
It was fine. She pooped it out. But
I
would say actually the water. Yes, it was one of those little tiny circles.
Oh, like from the tubes? Maybe metal I don't know.
I think I know.
I forgot.
I could show you. It's what we like drop all the time and you like pick them up in the dirt.
Okay.
But yeah, the water bottles are probably it for me. The most annoying. They take up the dishwasher. They take up the pantry. Half the time I can't get them unscrewed, the lids undone.
And we both have different ways of putting the water bottles away, which is...
But yeah, it's all such minor stuff. I mean, there's not... We're getting like real down in it now.
Yeah.
But,
now, what are the things that maybe some people wouldn't expect about being married to a pro triathlete?
I don't know. It's kind of put me on the spot. Like, in what way?
Just anyways, direct. Like if you, like when you first started dating me or something like that, what was... kind of one of the things that surprised
Well, the thing that surprised me, and maybe it's just because I'm not the best with time, but I'd be like, okay, you have a 2-hour ride and a 1-hour run. Like, cool, get that over with, like, back to back and, like, be done, have the whole day to yourself, And it's like, no, it's not that way. Because the 2-hour ride, structure. It takes into account, like, are you going to drive somewhere to ride from there or what? And just the prepping for it, and then, like, the stoplights and maybe getting
I learned early on that
or something.
I needed to add, if I said I was going for a 3-hour ride, I needed to add in the stoplight time, which I had always kind of done when I figured out, like if I was talking with somebody about like a 3-hour ride, I would in my head plan for 3.5 or something. But I started doing that with Courtney and building in some of the times, because if I was gone and I said, I have a 2-hour ride and I was gone for 2.5, she would get worried or concerned or be like, where are you at? And I'm like, well, I had to stop at stoplights, refill the water bottles.
That was prior to him getting an iPhone, and so I could not check his location. Thank you for getting an iPhone now, because...
Who checks the location more? Me or you? And we got to wrap this up pretty quick. So who checks the location more?
You check it.
I check it more. I love that.
But I like having to check it the ability to check it if he's on a ride, because obviously that is a nerve-wracking thing. Yeah, like there's been a few times where he's come back with the sun down, and that was scary because he's typically very good with timing, and like if he says 3 hours, he is back in 3 hours because he knows I will worry. So there's been a few times that was but other than that, like it's still fine. Like you're not.
I just build in the extra. I'm very good at.
It's always nerve-wracking.
Time. So all right, well, I could go on, and I'm sure if anybody else has questions for Courtney, we're going to have to bring her back on because, one, we're about full with about how long our episode should be, but we're maybe cut a little bit short because Briella is at preschool and Caden just woke up from a nap, and you could probably hear him in the background. So we are going to wrap this up. That goes back to a little bit of our timing thing. Thank you, Courtney, for using your spare time when Caden was napping and Briella was at preschool, which is very rare to have those very quiet moments to spend it chatting with me and explaining to some people. We'll for sure have you back on as a guest because why not? But
we just scratched the surface. I feel like I have so much more to say.
I know. We'll have to do a part 2 at some point. So again, if people are listening to this and they want to hear more from Courtney or what about it, send us in some questions and we'll get to answering those and what you want to know about the behind the scenes and all the dirt that Courtney has on me. So thanks everybody for listening. That's the first guest episode of Solo Sessions, and we'll see you next time.